April 2005. No sooner had we buried Pope JP2 that we had to focus on the task at hand, choosing his successor. After a lot of soul searching, I decided to throw me cardinal hat in the ring. I felt ready. All my life had been leading up to this moment. My mind was cast back to my childhood in Buenos Aires. Every day after school, I'd be out in the fields down the street, in me little pope hat and robes, and I'd be practising me blessings and me anointings, me beatifications. Never stopped working on me pope skills. I remember the local priest. He'd come up to me, look me in the eye, and say, "What are your legs?" I'd say, "Steel crucifixes." He'd say, "How fast can you pray?" I'd say, "As fast as Christ on a leopard." He'd say, "How fast are you going to pray?" I'd shout back, "Christ on a fucking leopard." He'd shout, "Well, let's see you do it then." And I'd be away. I'd pray with all me guts. I'd pray till I spewed, or until Mum called me in for tea. But now, here I was, in 2005, about to front the Vatican Selection Committee. I knew I was in with a shot, but I knew a bunch of the other boys were eyeing the position too, including the German lad, Ratzinger. He'd established himself as the favourite, and with good reason. He had experience on his side, and his praying was strong. But he didn't know shit about wearing a pope hat. I felt alright about my presentation to the selection committee. But when I heard a few days later that they'd been calling the referees on Ratzinger's resume, I knew he'd taken the proverbial chocolates. When I heard he'd be going with the name Benedict, I won't deny it, I was cut. That was going to be my pope name. I fronted the media and made a statement that Benedict had the full support of me and the entire Cardinals board. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. March 2013. It was 4 a.m. when my mobile rang. It was the Belgian Cardinal telling me that Benedict had called a press conference for later that morning. I knew what that meant, and I remember I just said 2 words, ex-Benedict, and hung up. People talk about being in the zone, and when I fronted the Vatican this time, I was in the zone well and truly. It was like I had the Holy Spirit on a string, and when the smoke flew up the chimney, I knew I had the papacy in the bag. Later that day, I was in the Vatican locker rooms. I was by myself, listening to Eye of the Tiger on my iPod. I'd put on me robes and hat and looked at myself in the mirror, and I said to myself, I am a star. I'm a big, bright, shiny star. I'm a star. I'm a star. Then I zipped up me robes and ran out to the roar of the crowd.